Our topic for today's discussion is municipalities in India. We will discuss this over two sessions. The first session will cover a historical overview of the development of municipalities in India, and the second session will cover the organization and functions of the present municipal system in India. At present, at least according to the 1991 census, though we do not have a corresponding figure for the later census of 2011, according to the 1991 census, there are more than 3,200 municipalities of various types all over India. But before we delve deep into whether municipality is a recent innovation or we have a historical link with the idea and practice of municipal government, let us first have a look into the meaning of the term municipality, trying to have a guess according to the meaning about the root of the term or etymological expedition into the meaning of the term municipality. The municipality which we use in today's English actually came from a French word municipalité, which came from an earlier Latin word municipium. The municipium meant a city or a town or any locality which is usually beyond the boundaries of exact Roman Empire, but belong to the Roman Empire in that sense, and the citizens of those urban areas, cities or towns or any free areas, had a twin privilege. They enjoyed the rights of a Roman citizen, but at the same time they were governed by their own laws. And this is some kind of an arrangement which Rome had to enter into its far-flung provinces, that in return of their loyalties, Rome had to give them citizenship and also had to accept that they remain under their own governmental system. So, that is the root of the term municipality which we use today, and that is what we found in the Western world. Now, what about our India? Were we or are we really alien to the whole idea, or is it a 20th century innovation, or we can really trace or can trace its roots back into a much earlier period? In fact, the latter is true. We have found evidences through archaeological excavations, through documents, and even through the pages of the mythologies like Ramayana and Mahabharata, that in ancient or in antiquity, India of antiquity, people of urban areas had a system of self-governance of rudimentary kinds, definitely not comparable to the present system of municipal system, and they were known as podos or nigams. And even in later Hindu kingdoms, we found evidences of municipal systems which are known as either gosthis or Mahajan Samitis. So, it shows that in India or in India of the classical times, we had some primary or rudimentary forms of local self-governance to some extent, and we are quite prepared for that when it came later on. But in the intervening Mughal period, we found a development of a larger number of towns, and the towns were basically centers of commercial activities and also of political activities. Large towns came up all over India, or at least as far as the spread of Mughal Empire was concerned, but the earlier systems of self-governance was not to be found there. The Mughal rulers depended on the local kotwal, a person or holds the office of the kotwali, who combined in himself the roles of both the local tax collector and as well as the local peacekeeper. So, in a sense, if we may even venture to add at this point that or ask the question was that Kotwal of the early Mughal period, a very initial form of the present system of district collectorate and district magistracy. It could have been. But the Mughals were bent on a greater collection of taxes and not so much or not at all on whether people could self-govern themselves or not. And this continued till the East India Company or the British East India Company came to India. The first conscious attempt to form a municipal system of governance we found after the East India Company came over India. East India Company found that local conditions to be very unhygienic, and it was not at all fit for living of its own servants and employees. And so they had to ensure or to see to it that a proper hygiene can be provided to its own employees and servants. With that aim in view, in December 1687, the date is very important in that way, it first formed a municipal corporation in the town of Madras, and that is the first conscious attempt of forming a municipal governance system in India. And the Britishers made it in the model of the City Corporation of London, and it had a mayor who was always an Englishman. It had 12 aldermen who were chosen from among the heads of different caste groups in Madras town, and 60 to 120 burgesses who were either European or Indians. They also formed a mayor's court, and that too according to the model of the London system. A mayor's court was composed of the mayor himself and 3 aldermen, and they acted as justices of peace, thus keeping order and security in the town of Madras. This municipal corporation had the power of taxation, of raising taxes for providing different municipal services, and it became operational from the next year, that is 1688. But it was wholly limited to the town of Madras. In 1726, the King First George of England, through a proclamation, extended the same facilities to 2 other metropolitan towns, Calcutta and Bombay, so that there could be a uniform municipal system in the 3 most important metropolitan towns, Madras, Calcutta and Bombay. And a similar system was constructed, a similar municipal government was constructed in these 3 cities. In these 3 metropolitan cities of Madras, Calcutta and Bombay, the system was slightly changed, that instead of 12 aldermen, it was now composed of a mayor and 9 aldermen. This continued for some time, but this was specifically for some kind of municipal system. But in 1842, the Bengal Act of 1842 was proclaimed by the authorities, and this made or paved the way for creation of municipal systems in any towns under Bengal presidency. And it was not very much liked though, mainly because of its direct taxation powers, and the whole idea was not very popular. Only 1 or 2 towns in Bengal presidency formed a municipal corporation according to the Bengal Act of 1842. Subsequently, we find before Queen Victoria took over the reins of India, and even after Queen Victoria took over following the 1857 First War of Independence, Englishmen were for whatever purpose, mainly for a better tax collection, a better hygienic surroundings for themselves and their employees, were interested in installing or establishing some kind of municipal systems all over India, and along the way came the idea of self-government, which we first find in Lord Mayo's resolution of 1870, and in that way it is kind of a landmark, because today we equate local bodies either in urban areas or in the rural areas with the idea and practice of self-governance. And Lord Mayo in 1870 was the first one who very consciously emphasized on that aspect of municipal system, that people should be able to govern themselves freely, or the idea or the concept of self-governance. And this is followed by, in 1882, Lord Ripon's resolution, and this is actually very important, and this is known as the Magna Carta of municipal system in India. Lord Ripon was a liberal thinker, and his resolution was aimed at basically of ensuring a better and greater tax collection for municipal services. He specifically focused on tax collection from local resources under local control to be used for local people. But his idea was that unless a municipal body had adequate controllable resources, it can function properly. His resolution is not aimed exactly at self-governance, but he tried to ensure or create the conditions that which would allow self-governance to emerge, and he mentioned, I quote, that local self-government was an instrument of political and popular education. So, this Magna Carta of Indian municipal system was quickly accepted by people all over India. A number of municipal acts followed, a large number of municipalities were formed till we come to the Morley Minto reforms of 1909, which came in the wake of 1905 Swadeshi movement. And in this Morley Minto reform, the recommendations was the role of local bodies in sending some representatives to the provincial legislature, and some seats were thus assigned that they would be filled in through representatives from the local bodies. And this prompted the political parties, so long were not very much interested in contesting in local elections, and of course, elections are also very few and far between. But after Morley Minto reforms recommendations, political parties got into the scene, got into the act, and they also contested local body elections so that they can send their own representatives to the provincial legislature. The Government of India Act of 1919 transferred the responsibility of overseeing municipal administration from a government official or district official to a ministry run by a popularly elected minister. And the final act in this whole colonial period came through the Government of India Act of 1935, through which the entire responsibility of supervising local self-governments at the urban areas was lock, stock and barrel transferred to the provincial governments. So, thus we come to the end of the colonial period, and after 95 and till 1947, till the time we got independence, there are no new acts of good relevance or high relevance as far as municipal system was concerned, but the system by then, by the time we got our independence in 1947, at least in urban areas or at least in leading metropolitan cities and towns, we had important municipal systems in place. Surprisingly, in the post-independence period, initially not much encouragement was given constitutionally to the urban governments, because if we look at the Indian Constitution document, we will find that the municipal system was mentioned only in two places, and that too in the 7th schedule, which allocates powers between the center and the states, and we have one entry in the state list and another entry in the concurrent list. Only these two entries are there for the municipal system, otherwise the entire constitution was totally silent on the municipal system. The focus was then on developing the panchayat system, which we can look into later on, but from 51 onwards till late 1960s or even till 1980s, the municipal system was there, but it was not uniform across India. Different cities and towns had different kinds of municipal systems. Some are elective, some are non-elective, and even there at the central government level there was no specific ministry which would assign the task of looking after the municipal system. Only in 1985 for the first time we got a ministry for urban development, specifically given the task of looking after the municipal system, and this Ministry of Urban Development was assisted by other departments as well. In December 1992, the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act was passed. Actually, the bill was passed and made into act, which is called the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, and later incorporated in Part 9A of the Constitution. This Amendment Act, the 74th Amendment Act, dealt specifically with municipal systems all over India, and trying, as we found in case of the 73rd Amendment Act, which is dealt with panchayats, both were trying to bring in some uniformity across India. 73rd in case of the rural self-governance and 74th in case of the urban self-governance, and also creating conditions for proper municipal services, proper governance at the local level, and also ensuring that the so far disadvantaged sectors of the population got their chances of representation also by reserving seats not only for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, but also for the first time, and up till today at that level of governance only 33 and 1/3% reservation for women. There are other innovations too, but that we can look later in our detailed discussion on the origin, on this organization and composition and functions of the municipal system in India. But suffice it to say here that this 74th Amendment Act of which became operational in April 1993, this 74th Amendment Act was a very successful one, has been a very successful one in that one, it has led to uniform municipal practices across India. Two, it has led to a creation of new municipal bodies in towns and cities, and also in transitional areas, like areas which are transiting from rural to urban areas. So, we now get or almost the whole of established urban area and the areas which are now becoming urban areas, almost the whole of such urban areas are now covered by an intricate network of municipal systems. And three, by reserving seats not only for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, we had that at the local legislature level, we had that for the national parliament level, but by ensuring that 33 and 1/3% seats are reserved for women across different segments of the municipal system, it ensured that women who, as the line goes, who hold up half the sky, get their proper representation in the municipal system of governance and local self-governance, so that they get the proper political education, the proper experience which may help them later to graduate into state level politics, or also to and then to the national level politics. So, after this 74th Amendment Act became operational, many states brought in relevant and concurrent municipal acts to update their existing municipal systems, to modify them. so that they can fit in the bill of the 74th Amendment Act. So, by now we find as far as the history of the development goes that we have come to almost a point at which you can stop. But something has definitely to be said that if we even if we ignore or if we do not put such very importance on our examples from antiquity or early Hindu kingdoms of the existence of rudimentary municipal systems, at least since the first conscious attempt in December 1687 and down to 1992 or 93, that is a period of more than 300 years. And the entire Indian municipal system, the system of urban local governance had been developed over these 300 years. First under, in fact, however much we may dislike the practice of colonialism or the fact that we are under colonial rulers, one thing has to be said in their favor is that even if for their own narrow interests, even if for ensuring a better atmosphere for their own servants and employees to live in or for themselves to live in, at least they thought of introducing a municipal system. They took steps to implement those systems, and finally along the way, mainly because two individuals, Lord Mayo and Lord Ripon, were both liberals, that the idea of self-governance struck root, and thus we find that over last 300 years we have not only got for ourselves a municipal governance system, but also with it a system of self-governance which is a hallmark of a modern democracy. So, over a period of last 300 years or more, we have first under the guidance and inspiration and active role of the colonial rulers, and then under our independent India's government, we have developed a municipal system which is providing not only good governance at the local level, which is very much required at present, but also we are at the same time could implement the principles of self-governance, which is a hallmark of modern democracy, and to imbibe our local institutions with these self-governing principles. But one thing can also be said in expectation that everything, or against the fact that everything around us is changing fast. So, it may not be so that we will be stuck at this 74th Amendment Act or Part 9A, but we may also have to move on with the changing times, and later in near future or in distant future the present system may also change. That is, the future can tell us.